In comments, we've had the idea of serotonin thrown in, and I've given it a thought, and it is for the moment too complicated to go at. It's trying to answer the question, is happiness a one thing or is it a continuum? And I think if we think serotonin and the amount of serotonin receptors there are, I think we can say it's a continuum, because as the various percentages of the receptors are filled or not filled, it becomes a level of happiness or contentment. Or there is a system whereby, as a certain amount are filled up, you drop down to the I am now happy / content hole. But anyway, I think that is a way into thinking about it, but for my first thought, it all becomes a bit complicated. What I think's a lot easier is on the other side, where we're thinking of comparisons, where I've said that humans do comparisons, dogs do comparisons, and I can imagine that the little mammals that ran round the dinosaurs' feet do comparisons. I'll go a bit more, I'll say scientific on that. I think it's the way mammals, I'll just stick with mammals for the moment, the way mammals' five senses work, basically. And I think I'm not saying it is, but I think it's fair enough for us to imagine that this is the way it works. If we take video for our example, or sight for the human. Like a video, it's imagined that it is some sort of smoothness coming in, and we're seeing smoothness. But of course, it's so many frames per second, 25 frames per second here. And these frames per second go into the camera and get made into something that looks smooth. And I can imagine that me looking out here is so many frames per second coming into the brain, where it's made exactly the same to make it look as though it was smooth. But I think just for explanatory value on this, I think we can imagine that it does work that way. So we have one frame come up of the picture of over there, the jungle. And the next one comes up, over there, the jungle, but with a hint of a tiger in it. And the brain, one of its Darwinian advantage things, worked when it could have the tigery one and the jungly one, and compare the two. It's so much easier than just having a tigery one and then analyse that that's a tiger in it. It's much easier to have a tigery one and a non-tigery one and compare the two. And then when you've compared the two, you've got taken away all jungle, you've got the bit left over which is tiger. And I can imagine this working. I could just about do a way it might work for all five senses. Whether it does or not, it doesn't really matter. But I think we can imagine that the very proto-mammalian brain used comparisons in its systems analysis to make it advantageous for it in a Darwinian way. This is one of the things it did. Basically, it's got a comparison. Let's just imagine it's got a wonderful, really now advanced, that's worked for millions of years, comparison engine running. So this is why all mammals can go around and do things so quickly, is that they've got this comparison engine that works so fast. Now we can say, for this, let's go to apes instead of dogs. But I think it's fine for dogs as well. But we'll go to apes so we can keep it so we can all just about agree. I think we should be able to agree that apes can use it for fairness as well. It can imagine one picture. It can imagine another picture, and it can compare the two pictures. Mental scenarios, constructs, and an ape can do one and the other and compare the two, like we do when we understand fairness or unfairness. Yeah? So I think this is where it comes from. It's a brilliant, very long existing, highly advanced and exceptionally quick and powerful comparison engine that runs in a human and in all mammals of various powers, and it works for all our senses day in, day out, and the more advanced mammals with the bigger brains can use it to do mental projections and compare those as well, and see from that another mental projection, which is the idea of fairness, which we can certainly see in very small, that's a small baby child of a human, but we can certainly see it in apes. I'm sure we can see it in dogs, cats, and maybe people that keep rats could probably even see it in rats. So that's the second one. I'm sure that's where the comparison engine is in all mammals, and why it drives so many things, and why it's foolish to talk about most anything unless you take this comparison engine into account. Third thing, and the first thing was the serotonin, and whether that, because we've got to think it's scientific, I mean it is going to be physics in here, whether the serotonin makes it more likely to be a continuum or a whole affair. And the third thing is, I watched a video from the people I signed up with or subscribed to on YouTube. Are intelligent people more lonely? I just recommend you giving it a listen. I see myself as the intelligent person, and the intelligent person, I have never not used that in the past. I've used artistic, an artistic person. I think you've got artistic people and non-artistic people, and I'd say forget the last 30 seconds of the video and take note of the most of the towards the end of the video. I think it's a video that is worth discussing as well, and maybe we can slide it into our conversation somewhere. That's it for today. Hare Krishna to all of you on toast.